Rev up your engines!
Well, here you go with Volkswagen and their lack of quality again. They just recalled over 240,000 cars in the United States and Canada over brakes that are faulty. Wiring harness can have problems and cause them to break on their own. You know, we got all this electronic safety crap. Well, that can break and it can slam the brakes on when you go down the road and somebody will kill you. And here's what happens when it shorts out. People reported that warning lights and alarms go off, the driver's side windows would roll down, and the SUVs would suddenly brake while in traffic. Now, this covers Atlas SUVs, 2019 to 2023, the new ones, as well as 20 to 23 Atlas Cross Sports. Contacts of either side of the front doors can wear out, short the wiring out, and then all that crazy crap happens. That's why it may break itself, but then the window rolls itself down too. Well, maybe that's a good thing. So if you get in a wreck, at least you can climb out to the window. If the door gets broken and you can't get it open, you can climb out the window because it's rolling itself down. Maybe that's part of their safety software. I don't know. And these are cars that are almost brand new, right? Imagine as they age, the problems they're going to have. People think this is the tip of the iceberg as far as I'm concerned. These are cars that are, 2-3 years old are brand new 2023s. Your entire car is negative electricity, all the metal, and then there's wires that have positive electricity. So basically it's all interconnected. So one electrical part shorts out, it can do all kinds of things. And as they age, people are going to have the squirreliest things happening to these cars. And of course, if you know anything about Volkswagens, over the past decade or so, they've had all kinds of electronic problems. They don't build them all that well. They're over-engineered, and they cost a fortune to repair when they break. And now they're recalling all of these because they might actually brake by themselves. Not break down, but slam the brakes on themselves when you're going down the road. Too much technology, people. At least too much technology. It's made like crap. Well, BMW had that i3 electric car. Now they're coming out with a new EV. They gave up with that. It's going to be the i4 electric vehicle. And guess what? It's going to be a crossover. Small SUVs, what do they call them? Crossovers, right? They all got this hard on for SUVs and cross SUVs and blah, blah, blah. Now, the supposed cheap one is going to only start at $55,400. Why not buy 3 or 4 of them, That's inexpensive, according to BMW. And they're also going to be working on an i7, a big, fancy electric one. And they claim that this cheap one's going to come out 2022, sometime this year. And interesting enough for BMW, it's a front-wheel drive platform. It's a platform shared on the electric Mini. Realize BMW runs Mini. So it's not going to be a gigantic vehicle, obviously, if it's based on a Mini. They said they want to keep it affordable, so it's not going to have that big of a battery. And they estimate the range is only going to be between 120 and 200 miles. More of an interurban thing, right? And they're only going to have the iX3 in Europe. They know Americans wouldn't accept a car with a short range like that. In Europe, they will. And BMW is getting in the electric car market yet again, even though their first one failed sales standpoint. I find it interesting they're doing this in Europe only. Because, in the United States, BMW is seen as a luxury brand. That's why their first electric car failed as far as I'm concerned. The guy that brought me one in Rhode Island, he bought his used. He only had to pay 20 grand for it used because he said he went to the BMW dealer and it'd been sitting there for months. Because people go to a BMW dealer when a big luxury BMW SUV or a luxury car, right? They don't want this little bitty thing, so they couldn't get rid of the thing. And he gave them a low offer, and they took it because they wanted to get it off the lot. Small cars are not BMW's things in the United States. So they're going to try the small one out in Europe again, see what happens. Who knows? They may never bring it to the United States. Truck Neon says, I got a humming noise in my 19 VW Jetta. It hums when I'm cruising at 100 to 118 kilometers an hour. It doesn't blow 100 or more than 118. I had the wheel bearing checked, and they said they're fine. What could it be? I don't know who checked your wheel bearings. And here's the thing. Often when they start to wear, and it's 2019, it's not that old, they'll only make noise with the weight of the car on it and you're going that speed. Jack it up in the air, they're not warm enough that you pull on the wheel that they'll rattle because they're loose. It can take a long time before you get play in the wheel when you jack it up when the wheel bearing's gone. But it can make noise when you're going at highway speed. So, watch my video. Finding the source of car noise is Scotty. There's that machine. There's various other machines. You can buy a machine for $60 from Amazon that does the same thing, that has wires on it. You put sensors all over, and then you have headphones, and you listen to it, and your control unit has like 6 clicks, one for each one. You click it until you get the loudest noise, and then you know, okay, that one's by that wheel bearing, and you'll know it's that wheel bearing. Generally, that noise is wheel bearing. Now, it's a Volkswagen. It could be a bearing inside the transmission, which would cost a fortune. You want to pray it's just a wheel bearing. But normally it is. And with a machine like that, having 6 sensors all over the place. Put one by each wheel first, and then you hear, oh, it's loudest at the left front wheel. Then you know it's the left front wheel bearing. You can pinpoint sounds that way without guessing, because a lot of times they'll only make the noise when they're going that speed with the weight of the car on it going down the road. And unless you have some crazy mechanic who's going to hang on your hood and stick his head over when you're driving 60, the only way to do it is using a machine that picks up sound like that. Hunter said, my AC and my Jeeps drive me nuts. I got 07 Jeep. Was low on freon, recharged it, tightened it up, and then it'll only run when I jump power to it. I replaced the relay pressure switch. It still won't run unless I hotwire it. What can I do? Now, it's an '07 Jeep, but long before that, Chrysler went to some of the most complex computer-driven air conditioning systems. The funny thing is, Mercedes-Benz for years had one of the crappiest computer-driven AC systems in a lot of their diesels. And what they did was they actually used the Chrysler system, got some of the patents, and then built it. So they took that crap from Chrysler, and that was, decades ago. You got a 2007. Everything on that baby is controlled by computers. Everything. There's a control unit. There's feedback relays. There's electronic servos. Now, yours is working, you say, when you hotwire the compressor. Well, you could have a bad control unit. You could have bad wiring. You could have all kinds of electronic problems. A guy like me, we got to hook up our fancy scan tool. Then we go through the whole AC system, because our scan tools can do bidirectional controls. We can command this to go on. Then we can see on the computer, did that receive the command, or is that wrong? Is there short in the wiring? It can get very complex. You might ask a guy who really knows what he's doing to analyze it with his computer. Ask him what he charges. If he says $100, what the heck? Spend $100, see what he says. Now, if it's going to cost you a fortune, you can put a toggle switch on the dash, power from the battery and toggle switch, put a fuse in line, run that to the compressor, turn it on and off that way. If it works that way, it's an easy, cheap fix, because those computer systems can cost a fortune to repair. It's just ridiculous that they're making that high, but they do because they can, and they can rip you off when it's time to fix them. Riz 917 says they got 2011 Nissan Xterra. The brake lights all came on. Sometimes it comes on, sometimes it doesn't come on. When I start it, they're off. Then, if I get to 5 miles an hour, they come back on. Then the automatic door locks lock like they're supposed to. I have an amp reader in my lighter plug. It reads between 12.9 as high as 14.2. Somebody said it might be the alternator. All right. It probably is. It should never read 12.9. That's way too low. You should always be 13 point something volts charging. If it's that low, have your battery and alternator load tested. The way that Japanese cars are designed, the Nissans, it's kind of weird, but don't ask me why. When the alternators don't charge right, a lot of times the brake light will also come on. It's just some weird software and wiring glitch. A lot of Toyotas will do that. Alternator stops charging the battery right, and all of a sudden you see your brake lights coming, like, what the heck is going on here? Normally it's just the software and the hardware wiring interaction that, since it's not charging right, for some reason it also turns the stupid battery light on. So, go to AutoZone, Pep Boys, any place. They can load test your battery and your alternator. You always test them both at once, because if you got a bad battery, the alternator might not charge right. And if you have an alternator that's gone bad, a lot of times it's shorted out the battery. So you want to test them both at the same time, and that's probably what it is. DBJ2322 says I got an overheated Chevelle, a 1966 Chevelle SS with a 454 in it. I overheated on the way home. I refilled it, and water comes out of the seam of the radiator. I ordered a new radiator. What else should I do? What you should do is pray. Pray that it was only the radiator that was your problem and it didn't damage anything else. Because if your engine overheats and there's a problem, it can get so hot it will actually blow a hole in the radiator. And then you fixing the radiator doesn't fix the problem of the engine, or vice versa. You did have a hole in the radiator, but then that led to the engine overheating and that blew the head gasket. Watch the temperature gauge. It starts getting hot, pull over, turn it off. And you might say, I don't want to tow my car. Do you want to tow your car, or do you want to buy a new engine? The engine's going to cost you many thousands of dollars. The tow will cost hundreds of dollars. Use your head when it comes to that, Or if you're cheap like me, it starts overheating, pull over to the side of the road, needs coolant. When it cools down, add some coolant. If you got a jug of water, fill it up, add some coolant, drive it until it starts to get hot with the heater on so that it'll run better, and then shut it off again, wait till it cools down, pour water in. If you're too cheap to pay for a tow, but don't ever drive a car while it's overheating. You can destroy it. And then you make analysis of it. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Did the radiator break, overheat the engine, or did the engine overheat and then blow the radiator? You're not going to know until you buy a new radiator, put it in. You might find out the engine's blown. If you don't want to spend that kind of money, you wasted it on the radiator. Don't ever drive a car once it starts overheating. Turn the stupid thing off. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.